Welcome to another edition of GW Unspoken, where we discuss stuff we don't typically talk about, but probably shouldn't. We're coming here for Season 6, Episode 2, talking about nutrition. Wow, what a great podcast. I had the other day with David Gillespie, and just hearing his words of wisdom for all the research he's done. Lawyer, author, he's done so many things, but even to take out the time to talk about nutrition in his book, Sweet Poison, and where he talked about how he lost 40 kilos and just by doing all the research around what the importance is for nutrition these days. I suppose in an ever-changing world of, lack of physical activity generally for people, but also the quality of food that maybe we don't get access to anymore. So again, this episode's more about you, and we're talking about Innate Code, the 8 things that we believe it contributes to holistic health. So let's talk about you now. Let's recap the foods that you have at the moment. Are they the ones that are suiting your energy needs? So what kind of things and activities do you do every day? Or maybe you don't have maybe you have a sedentary lifestyle where you're not sort of moving around. What kind of foods can you have then that's sort of going to contribute to what you need as a person, but also not go into those things where you probably start putting a bit of weight on and then the associated lifestyle factors from that may affect you? What is it? Now, here's a bit of a tip and trick. I mean, we teach this in PE all the time with our nutrition units, especially in Year 9, but if you think about the types of food that you have, and we know that most food has carbohydrates, proteins, fats, and minerals, all different things in there, sugar content. What we do know, I think it's really important to be informed about this and educate, is that every gram of carbohydrate you eat is worth about 4 calories of energy. Every gram of protein you have, again, the same, roughly around 4 calories. Every bit of fat you have is nearly 2.5 times that. The energy is around 9 calories. So pretty high obviously. And then the last one I want you to think about is alcohol. Alcohol is around 7 grams. It's in the middle there somewhere, 7 grams per calorie. So the problem with alcohol too is it's a metabolism inhibitor. It stops the metabolism working at night time. And so we often find that adults particularly have alcohol middle-aged. When they're middle-aged and they have alcohol after dinner, it sometimes suppresses that fired-up metabolism system. And you can check out how well your metabolism is working, because if you do have a set of scales that you can hop in at night time, you go to the toilet before bed, jump on the scales, you might be, 60, 70, let's say 70 kilos, go to bed, sleep that night, wake up in the morning, go to the toilet again, jump on the scales again, and you might be 69. So your metabolism fired up by around 1 kilo a night. When you're younger and maybe more athletic, you can lose up to around 2 kilos. And yes, you put that back with food and water and that kind of stuff, but it just shows you how well your metabolism is working and fired up. And that's what we want to do, especially as adults, is to get that metabolism working for us when we're sleeping. So how are you going with those? How are you going with the food intake you have? I don't want to call it diet. I'm talking about your lifestyle factors, how you eat generally each day. Does it change? Do you have a set routine? Do you have pre-ordered meals, or do you cook all your meals, for example, on a Sunday, which I know some teachers do, and get themselves ready for them and the kids for the week? What are you having? Because you might have a fairly high fat diet, like the Atkins diet, but a 9 calories a gram, but you might actually eat less. So those calories still balance out at the end of the day. If you listen to David Gillespie and believe what he says in the research, he says that you can sort of eat mostly whatever you like as long as you're not really having sugar, because that sugar can actually change those cravings for more food. So just have to think about what kind of foods you're having, what are they high in, do you need those energy requirements and those needs? Because I know a lot of people who lost a lot of weight having lack of carbohydrates, for example. I saw an ex-principal once, and about 4 or 5 months later, because I jumped out of school and did a sports business, and I saw her and I said, "Hey, what the heck's going on here?" And I thought maybe something had happened, like some kind of illness or injury. And she said, "No, I just cut down carbohydrates and just doing a bit more walking, a bit more moving now. I feel amazing." Another one of my mates did the same thing. He had a rule of no carbohydrates after lunchtime. So I'm not advocating this. I'm just saying some ideas of what they did. But what I did find is that a lot of people who lost or took away their carbohydrates, they had a lack of energy, and they also had a change in moods. It seems like they were very irritated or frustrated, or showed a bit of signs of anger earlier because the carbohydrates weren't regulating the insulin and stuff. So just want you to critically think about that. I'm not going to go too deep dive into that, but just think about how you're tracking and traveling with relationships, etc., when you're having maybe a lack of carbohydrates. What about protein? I know being part of the footy program at one of the local schools here, we always talked about people got injured to make sure you keep your protein up to help with that muscle building, because we know that protein is the building blocks for muscles. It's very important though, because some of our young teenage boys particularly say, oh, well, that's okay. I've just got a protein powder and it's got like 40 grams of protein. It's so good. Like I'm going to get buff, I'm going to get massive really quickly. And you say, well, that's fine. But your body can only process around 20 grams of a day or a meal. So the other 20 grams you're basically just crapping out, you're not using. So just be careful with that and be careful of the fillers they put in protein. So again, if we can get, for our young boys especially, or if you're trying to use protein a lot, again, if we can get natural products such as our normal food rather than something more synthetic or something made like a protein powder, we're still advocating real foods for our kids. So all those things that we have, particularly if you're not a vegetarian, in our meats every single day. We also know there's good fats versus bad fats. I'm not going into that too much. I know that peanuts and avocados, for example, are really good fats for you. Just be careful of the real fatty foods and all those triglycerides and all the bad oils that are coming around. They're saying seed oils now are going to be fairly bad for us. So more research going to go in this area. I know David Gillespie touched on that as well, and I'll keep referring to him. But again, he's done all the research in this area, which is really important. And the last one to talk about is vitamins and minerals. Like if you look at that food group, they say now in the 21st century, our soils are nowhere near what they used to be way back in like centuries ago. And there's farms now that I've heard away like NutriWay and things like that, where they actually have, I think it's butterflies or they have lady beetles or something actually across their crops to try and fertilize the ground. Now it sounds insane, right? But they're paying hundreds and thousands and probably millions of dollars to have the soil right so they can have the right nutrients to put in to their vitamins and minerals. I know a person used to work for a vitamin company. I'm not going to name names with the vitamin company or this person, but they were saying that often when they do the batch testing for the vitamins, they check one pill and then the rest of the 99 may not have been tested at all. And the product you weren't getting was not even what you're paying for. Again, full of fillers, full of false advertising, pretty labels, got off the shelf on special, and it wasn't working for us. So do I think we need a special vitamin supplement? Maybe, I don't know. I'm probably saying yes. I'm saying probably most times when we get our fruit and vegetables, if we don't know where it comes from, or even if we do know where it comes from, we know that the soil is not as dense or as great as it used to be. So think about that. I know myself, I just have some magnesium at night time to help with muscle soreness or joints, especially jogging or running, being a bit older now. But what does yours look like? What is your nutritional requirements? What are the things that you're having? Can you change them? Do you want to change them? What about if you change your foods to have a variety of all those kind of nutrients in each meal? Would that help? Are you someone who does 3 main meals a day and 3 snacks? Are you someone who is more like a grazer, might have, hey, I might just have 10 to 12 snacks a day? Are you someone who's really trying to put on weight and you're actually bumping up the calories? So you're putting a fair bit of carbs and proteins and fats in each of your meals because that's your goal. I guess to end this podcast, I think that's a really important thing. What is your goal? What is your goal to be healthy? Because we know nutrition is the number one thing that's going to determine your weight. And that's taking away if you don't have any illnesses or sicknesses or in those things for genetics. Nutrition is number one. If you listen to Tony Robbins, mental health, movement is number one. So if we put those two together, and often kids at school, we talk about the big four. We talk about nutrition, we talk about movement, we talk about sleep, we talk about lack of technology. Nutrition and movement are the top two, I believe, to help with your mental and physical health. And if you get your mental health correct, which is often determinant of your physical health, and then that captain of your ship, your brain is going to work really well. So how can we feed the brain nutritionally to make you the best person you can be for knowing yourself and getting yourself right, but then also to help others? So I want you to think about that. Okay, your journal entry. I've been writing a journal every single night now for about 40 days, and it's been working really well with stepson of mine, and shout out to him. It's really good just to be accountable, but also have someone else to bounce ideas off what you're writing. So number one, how about you have a bit of fun with it? How about you list your favourite foods? What are your favourite foods right now? If you write them down. I know back in the day, mine was definitely about Tim Tams. I'll talk about that in another episode, but very hard for me to say no to a Tim Tam right in front. I'm thinking that right now, which is crazy. What are your favourite foods? Write them down. Number two, is there any new information you've gained tonight? Is there anything, or today, is there any new information you've gained and gone, actually, that's really interesting. I might challenge myself to actually be more conscious of what I'm having, and is that what my energy requirements need? By the way, if you are finding you're eating junk food, we know that the most important thing is that you need to have bits of protein to stop that craving, because protein will make you feel fuller for longer. So if you're missing a meal and you're starving, often we will crave sugar and salt. That's the way our insulin works. So a good way to have booby trap yourself and just have a few things, snacks of protein on hand. So what's your challenge then? If you've got some new information gained, what's some challenge? Are you going to look at trying to change things for a week or two and just see if it does improve your energy, but also improve how you feel about yourself? And third thing, have a think about your lifestyle factors. This sort of goes with number 2. If you've got an increase in energy demands, what kind of things can you have now to improve your energy so you have that energy for the lifestyle factors that you're doing? If I'm now starting to run in the morning with the dogs, what kind of differences can I have? Because if I have extra coffee, which I often do, to wake up in the morning at 4:30, it's not helping if I'm going to be dehydrated and try and run every single morning and then try to do gym with the kids twice in the afternoon after school. So what are some things you can do to improve your energy demands based on the foods you're having? Have a research. Google's really good with that stuff if you can find a proper site or a reputable site. But what are some things that are going to make you feel good? Remember, everything in moderation is awesome. So when kids feel bad about themselves having junk food, or adults talk about having too much alcohol, that kind of stuff, I just love chatting and talking about it. So we'll tell you what it looks like. And it's not about necessarily deleting things from our diet, because sometimes it just makes us come back with interest. It's about what you're happy with generally day to day and something you can follow consistently. Because remember, consistency is a key for everything that we do. I want to thank you for joining us in this episode of GW Unspoken, and we look forward to discuss Season 6, Episode 3. We'll take another deep dive into what nutrition is for us and maybe the people around us. Thanks for joining us.